Hi guys, my name is David and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be reviewing the first volume of The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. I have recently been watching the TV series of the same name on Netflix, as I've heard about this graphic novel series numerous times, and I knew about the series coming up, and I didn't really know whether I should watch the series first and then read the graphic novels, or read the graphic novels first and then watch the series. So I just decided to watch the series to see what I thought about it, and I have been enjoying it so far. I'm only up to episode 7, so I think there's only about 3 more episodes of season 1 to go. But I have enjoyed it. It's been really interesting. The characters are all interesting, the acting is phenomenal, the CG is really good, the storylines are really interesting and intriguing. So I thought, do you know what, I have already got this graphic novel in my room. I didn't buy it specifically because I was watching the series. I had this already in my room at that time, so I thought, do you know what, I'll give this a go. So before I get into this, I just want to say that this is going to be a spoiler-free video. I might make comparisons between the first volume of the graphic novel and what I've seen of the TV series, but nothing that will spoil the whole story for you guys. And also, this is just going to be my own thoughts and feelings regarding this graphic novel as well as the TV series. So I just want to show you some of the artwork that's in this. It's really good, and you just show you that's the Sandman right there. Every time that Sandman is shown, he's always shown in like black and white with real dark clothing, and it's a good story. It's more or less like the show, but I would say it's a more watered down version. The show kind of expands on this, expands on characters and expands on storylines, and yes, it does cut out quite a bit of unnecessary material in my personal opinion. So this is obviously written by Neil Gaiman. There are no novelizations of this as far as I'm aware. If there is, please let me know down below and I'm going to order that right now. And this is a DC comic or graphic novel. So this tells about the tale of a character called the Sandman. And I don't think that I need to elaborate on what he actually is. He is the master of dreams, he is the creator of dreams, and he is the keeper of dreams, and also nightmares as well. At the start of this book, there is a gentleman who wants to try to capture death, and he has a whole ritual where he has all this mumbo jumbo that he says, and he does this in order to capture death so he can control death and give death orders. But something goes wrong and the Sandman is captured instead. At first, he's extremely disappointed in this, and he locks him up in this massive glass dome or this fishbowl. And while the Sandman is unconscious, he takes away 3 artifacts or 3 important tools of the Sandman, which are his helm, which is that helmet, his ruby, and his pouch of sand. I must emphasize that these aren't the only items that give the Sandman power. The Sandman without these items does have power, but these items are kind of a extension to that power. So after a while of being imprisoned, this original man dies, and his son, called Luke I think it is, I could be wrong about that, takes up the role of being basically the prison guard. In the series, Luke is a very nice and sympathetic person. He tries to reason with the Sandman and try to show that he's nice and not a threat. But in this book, he's more or less like his father in the TV series. He's very harsh, he's very cruel, He wants to control the Sandman. And then one day he escapes from this prison that he's currently in right now. And he's just on a mission to retrieve his items that have been stolen, that have been taken from him. Now, in the series, we know exactly why they have been taken. I won't say why in this video because I don't want to spoil it in case you have got Netflix and that you want to see it, because I would highly recommend that you watch it. You don't really need to read this in order to understand it. But in the graphic novel, it's not fully explained about why these have been taken or by who. It might have done, but it kind of glossed over it a little bit. And it's just about the Sandman picking up the pieces of being imprisoned for so many years and retrieving his lost artifacts. Because the Sandman has a dimension, a kingdom of his own, and he's been away from that for so long, and he's basically a god. And time in his kingdom moves at a different pace than what it does in our world. And he has to try to pick up the pieces, and he finds that his kingdom has been left in a ruin, and everyone's abandoned him except for one or two individuals. In the series, there is a kind of a group of characters called ravens, which are basically these bird creatures who have the ability to talk, and they are kind of the companions to the Sandman. Think about the companion in Doctor Who. They are kind of the bridge between the audience understanding what's going on and the assistant asking the Doctor what's happening. So the audience can say, oh, okay, cool. Now I understand what's happening. In my opinion, that's basically what the Raven character in this series is doing. And there's the kind of a connection between that character who used to be a human but was resurrected as a raven for some weird reason. But in this book, the ravens aren't a main character. They aren't even mentioned in this graphic novel. There is scenes here and there, like one or two scenes or panels rather, where they are mentioned, but they aren't a main part of being a companion to the Sandman. The Sandman is a loner. He likes to do things by himself. We find out that there are other gods in this whole family that the Sandman's in, like Death and Desire, as well as some others which escape me. And this is just a really nice story that only Neil Gaiman could have actually written. There are characters in it which try to control dreams and try to control other people. And there is a scene where the Sandman does go to hell, which the devil is a woman, which I thought was a kind of a nice twist. And there are scenes where people try to exploit the Sandman's powers and try to control him when they have to try to discover for themselves that they cannot control the Sandman and have his powers or take his powers away from him. And because this is a DC graphic novel, like Marvel, they try to connect the whole worlds together. So other DC characters are a part of this, like the Green Lantern appears in one panel, I believe, but the most prominent character in this is Batman and Gotham City. Batman isn't a main character in this. He's not even a side character. He's just mentioned from time to time. The Joker is mentioned very briefly in this. But one of the villains that I suppose is a minor side character is the Scarecrow, as he is in Arkham Asylum. And Arkham Asylum is kind of a minor location in this graphic novel. I thought that this was an okay plot line, but it didn't really need to be in there. We don't really need to know that this whole world is somehow connected to Gotham City. It could have been its own separate thing, and it was a bit jarring when them things occurred. I was thinking, okay, this is all nice and interesting, but can we please get back to the Sandman story now? And if you're wondering at this moment in time, does this occur in the TV series? No, it doesn't. And you may be asking yourself, well, how much of the first series does this first volume cover? As far as I can tell, I was at episode 6, and about halfway through episode 6, that is what this basically covers. So I'm really excited to and pleased to have read this. I cannot wait to read more of the Sandman, and I cannot wait to read volume 2 and continue with this whole story. Not sure how many volumes there are in this whole series. I know it's a very long series, or substantially long, but I cannot wait to continue reading these and to see where it goes and watch it simultaneously with the TV series and to see how much they changed and what they added. And let me know if you have read this graphic novel. What did you think about it? Are you planning to read it? Have you watched the Netflix series? What did you think about that? I think that the actor that they got to play the Sandman isn't exactly the same as he is in the graphic novel, because of his face and his haircut, which is a bit long and straggly. I thought he looked more like Neil Gaiman. Every time the Sandman came up, I was thinking that Neil Gaiman was playing the Sandman, and it wouldn't surprise me if when he was talking about the design for the Sandman that he said, okay, just basically draw me but a bit different, because he does look extremely like the Sandman. And the Sandman isn't very at all expressive. As he's a god, at first he thinks that he's above everyone, but when he gets his tools back, I don't think that's a spoiler, I think that we all knew that he would get his tools back eventually, he becomes to be more humble and grounded and become connected with the people of Earth. But he doesn't really have that much of a facial expression or show any emotions apart from being really smug and powerful to being depressed and sulking all the time. So yeah, that's really all I had to say about this, really. I really had a lot of fun going through this, and yeah, I just can't wait to continue on with this whole journey with the Sandman, with the graphic novels and with the Netflix series. So yeah, that's all I had to say, guys. So yeah, with all that out the way, all said and done, I will see you in my next video. Bye.